do you guys do this in your spare times?
Yeah.
Are you guys like some TY students?
Fun, yeah.
I still remember myself and yourself walked into a hotel in Ormore. We walked in to present a social media package that we got asked to prepare for them, right?
Yeah.
We put in a ton of work, probably our first nice proposal. We had social media customers already, like a handful, I think 5 or 10, right? And we've done actually really good quality work with them. And the person outrightly, after we present, like just laughingly goes,
Do you guys do this in your spare times?
Yeah.
Are you guys like some TY students?
Fun, yeah.
and Amy and you were so shaken and distraught by that statement. What changed my perspective is when Gareth Flower said, guys, instead of hiding from your youth, embrace your youth. Because a real business person will recognize the fact of you are talented, you're one of a kind, and you are have really good characters, and your energy is really, really good.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of Built From Scratch with Dara and Eric. This is episode 25. It's a continued episode from the previous one where we're answering some of your questions. But to get started, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm 24 years old. I run a company called Grafton Digital where we do digital transformations for enterprise and SMB companies in Ireland and the US mainly. And then I'm also the COO of Olive for Education, where we're on a mission to democratize access to technology in Ireland for students, and for anybody in America watching, it's for K-12 students.
Cool. My name is Dara. I am a 23-year-old from Galway, Ireland. I am the co-founder of Magnate. We are building the smartest and fastest messaging platform, an aggregation messaging platform, and also we're co-owner with Eric in Sky Park. We're a online booking car park in the middle of Galway City, and we both run this podcast.
Yes, absolutely.
And we've been building businesses for 6.5 years, I think. 6 years.
2018, March 3rd is when we registered the business officially.
2019.
2019, yes, 2019.
We were rolling 2018, so nearly 7 years.
Nearly 7 years.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Not one grey hair to be seen on...
Fighting it.
You are definitely pushing it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you look about 42.
Yeah, that's the oldest I've heard. not by much though.
So yeah, this is just a pick up from the previous episode where we've put up a little box on our Instagrams just asking you guys to submit questions or topics for us to discuss or answer, and we are going to just continue that in today's podcast. So, the last thing we discussed was what was your biggest high and low and what was my biggest high and low. Next one is an interesting question, very analytical question. Surge in venture capital in the first 3 months of the year. What is driving this?
From my perspective, the biggest change is AI and how much AI can make things so much better for businesses. Something we covered in the last episode was that a lot of softwares previously in SaaS made things 5% better, 10% better, 20% better, which for a lot of companies, like you talked about, the cost of change is so huge that 10% lift sometimes can not be worth it. Whereas you're seeing with AI that
30-40%
layoffs,
and
500,
wow.
you can see a 500%, a 5x increase in speed. Like you look at Remplit,
fair, actually,
you go, hey, build me a website with these specifications, bang,
and it
right
just
there.
builds it.
You know, versus even the fastest Webflow builder before that, it would still take 5 hours. Let's say 3-4 hours to even a template to put together something good and publish it. Where with this, you can have an interactive demo ready to rock in seconds, and you can speak to it. So when you're talking about that's huge time saving, I think that the huge surge in VC is because companies are actually, and also because AI is such a huge leap, they're actually hitting real revenue as well. It's not even fake revenue.
It's not like crypto where it was a lot of fake revenue with those crypto punks and the V friends and all that stuff. I think it was a total flop, that whole NFT phase. And it probably had utility in theory, but it just had no substance. Not to say it's anything wrong with crypto, but it's to say that the whole business element when it rised up from kind of the shadows, and it became a trend to get NFTs, to get into altcoins, to do Bitcoin and everything, just obviously surged. But there was no real utility for businesses immediately. That's why the economy didn't pick it up. And then I think a new dimension of entrepreneurship emerged for crypto, and there was a lot of different apps and everything else created, and a new economy created there. But like for businesses and like crypto, I don't know what the percentage divide is between crypto business and normal business. But I think to your point now, that makes sense. But I think that's why probably a lot of businesses didn't pick up crypto, wasn't regulated, it didn't get picked up in utility as much. There was a lot of mistrust around it. Whereas AI got picked up like this, and there's a lot of utility, there's a lot of trust to it, even though there's probably a little bit of fear with it, because it's obviously fairly powerful if it's potentially used incorrectly. But hopefully we don't have Skynet coming down on us, and be fairly sad. Imagine Sky Park, the barriers don't open again.
That would never happen.
That would never ever happen. That's I agree with that. I actually haven't really kept my eye on what's gone on in the market in that respect, but that totally does make sense.
Yeah, there's huge flow of cash. Like you see the likes of Lovable, they are only a couple of years in business, they just hit 30 million in ARR. Again, Fixer AI did £9 million for 8 months. They're an email plugin. And this is real revenue.
So much disruption.
This is not even valuation. This is real revenue at pre-seed and seed. And there's even this whole movement around companies not needing. So my understanding, anyways, of pre-seed, seed, and Series A is pre-seed is extremely speculative. It's guessing, and you're going, hey, I think at some point it'll be worth more than whatever cap you put on it, and you take money in. And then seed is you understand the product, you got initial users excited about it, you're putting more money into go to market and expand it out. And then the actual valuation catches up with itself then at Series A, and you go, okay, the companies usually at Series A are worth 30 to 50 million, and all the money that's pumped in is now turned to equity, and now
the game is on.
Now you're doing 4 or 5 million in revenue a year, and your company's worth 40 to 50 million on a 10x multiple, and that all makes sense now. That's where it all catches up.
That's the point. You probably get acquired or either raise another round to go bigger towards the 100 million plus mark.
But now AI businesses are less and less looking at actually doing it in the past Series A because they don't need to. They have cash. They got real cash, So it's actually interesting that because SaaS companies originally used to need so much
capital
to try and get there and be so perfect, whereas now, because companies are catching revenue so quickly,
it's interesting.
It's another reason why I think VC are lumping in money so fast now, because companies maybe in the later stages won't actually come looking for cash. So again, this comes with trends and cycles. I keep a very close eye on this sort of stuff and listen to a lot about it. But that would be my 2 cents on why.
Yeah, that makes total sense. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I think that AI has really brought just new edge, just really fast, to business in general, and I think that a lot of investors are nearly proactively looking at investing in this, because it's nearly like a gold rush phase of let's just deploy enough capital to see what sticks, and then to double down on the ones that are succeeding. Which is really good for the economy, by the way, because it just is more capital deployed. I think data engineers and data scientists, they're emerging jobs. There's so much happening. Funny, there's huge scarcity in things. I was looking at this yesterday, things like graphic designers and different marketers, and there's a lot of the whole human creative aspect has really declined in terms of employment, and creation of AI or data manipulation or understanding it or implementing it or doing anything like that has surged in that level, and that must be because AI has started taking AI companies started taking a large portion of the workforce and try to redeploy them into different jobs and different skills. But I actually feel the same thing of finding good graphic designers or finding good people. Very difficult to find creative people, and I'd be still kind of the old school sense of I like working with someone to create art, like art or a UI UX designer. I like the process. I don't like to command a black and white screen to make it happen. But the fact is, it's now pushing me to change towards being a bit more looking forward to using AI. Like I've only started using ChatGPT. Sounds weird, but like 2 months ago, like actively on a daily basis. Now I go to it, I ask it questions or ask it to fact check things, and it's just like I try to see what way it does it. I find it's very good to chew information or throw certain things at me. But I still haven't even dabbled with even 0.5% of what AI is capable of doing in terms of design, development, coding, automations, none of that. And I see the agents space, this whole AI agent space, like is all over marketing towards me at the moment. Have your finance agent, marketing agent. And you know what? I just so don't get, do you just talk to like a robot and then a robot delegates to people, or does it delegate to other systems? How does that even work?
Yeah, like I suppose it's a real. So currently, a lot of the software is at like AI co-pilot stage, where it's like a human does the work, but AI can do a lot of the grunt work.
So it delegates it, it builds it up, and then the human finishes it with touches.
And it's almost like every person is actually becomes a manager at the moment, and like like even a magnet, like the way I position it for someone who's less tech savvy is like, imagine everyone in your organization has a personal assistant.
Wow. Okay, good.
And then that personal assistant handles all communication for the person, only gives them the relevant information, and has a lot of it drafted AI responses, summaries, you can ask it questions, all this sort of stuff. With regards to agent stuff, it'll become more task related. So again, like right now, if you were to put a command into ChatGPT and you go, hey, give me a summary of what's going on, in X scenario, in this business acquisition or whatever, right? It'll start and finish there. And that's like, let's say ChatGPT 4.0. If you use 01, it'll start asking self questions. So it'll start prompting self questions and keep going until it gets really good information because it's prompting itself. And agents is the same. You go, do not stop performing actions until you get X outcome. So don't stop performing actions until you understand my profit and loss for Q1 of 2025. So like some of them now, they can interact with browsers. It'll go into your zero, let's say, go where's profit and loss, click. So think about all these as mini actions, right? Where would it be?
And is this like Claude or?
Yeah, so some of the softwares can actually now interact with browsers, but like agents will become the whole thing around. It's just specific actions. Like it's just they're saying agents try and humanize it, but it's just a series of the AI going, hit this desired outcome, and it'll keep doing mini actions until it gets there. So you can interact with the browser, it can go in, it can log in or whatever. Like, but again, I think the big thing and the one thing I try and boil this all down to, because I have a lot of real smart AI people around me, is what we need to not get lost on is, what is the problem we're solving and what's the best tech to do that? So like, let's say with Magnate, when we initially launch our AI chat, it'll be, okay, how much utility, what are the top 5-10 things that people do for the messaging, and that would be the fastest to save. And that'll be just like a language, like a ChatGPT interface where you just ask it text, then it'll be voice, so you can add more utility, you can do on the move. Then eventually it'll be, hey, can you respond to this person and draft up a response? And again, then we can start adding in maybe agentic AI stuff where it can do little tasks inside your messaging. But again, I think it needs to solve, like there's lots of great tech out there, but it needs to be a case of, are you solving the problem? Is this the best tech to do so? Because again, you're getting hit. I get hit with loads of AI agents for social.
They're all over my social media at the moment.
Yeah, but again, I think the big thing is like, yes, like AI agents doing work for you is definitely coming down the line, but it's kind of a case of it still needs a lot of direction. You need to be. They're all kind of specifically task related, and again, there's this big question around AI agents is, will like Apple build an AI agent that then you
is Siri going to be like the ultimate agent for voice? Because we all have the hardware of Apple in our. Then there's like Johnny Ive collaborating, with Altman with the new AI phone that's coming out. It's like, wow, like what is going to be the future? Like, would you buy an AI phone?
Yeah, well, there's already AI, there's already AI everywhere now. Like Johnny Ive started the company and OpenAI bought it for $6.5 billion. So
handsome amount of money.
Again, like Sam Altman's just on a hot momentum right now, and he's just looking just to capitalize more and more and more. Yeah, they haven't really released much about it. They've just done a hype that like these two people, like the co-founder of Apple and then the guy leading the AI race in the US. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just need to see what way, because I don't know what way they're going to lean with it. Because I know it's an Apple competitor, but Apple has built such an amazing ecosphere. It would take a good bit for me to leave. You know,
I like the ecosystem as well. Like heavily invested in it. Everything is kind of Apple, but I'm like, wow. Like if we're gonna have like some small little AI devices, and you know, like is this going to, like, is the world going to evolve into like a Star Trek phase where everyone's just gonna be like no longer, maybe screen time disappears. Maybe it's all going to be
no screen.
There you go. There's no screen.
Yeah.
It's just probably going to be talking to it and like interacting with it. It's a weird thing, because what I like about having a phone is I don't have to, you know, I can silently do things.
Yeah.
So I can work, I can text without like talking out loud about it. So is this like something you use instead of your phone, with your phone?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
It'll be curious to see how Sam Altman and Johnny Ive go about this, but
they're definitely two creative individuals, powerful individuals, and you know, Johnny Ive, you know, with Steve Jobs and you know the team there have definitely done it once, really big, and will they do it again, even bigger? You know, so
no, it'll be curious, but the whole we're currently, in my perspective, we're in the AI co-pilot phase where software can make humans' output just way better. The agentic space will be
agreed.
Okay. What does that look like? Will it be Apple or whatever hardware dominates and it controls what you're doing? Will it be at a software level with really niche agents where you have your like, you know, all very niche agents for very specific? Will you have your messaging agent? Will you have your finance agent? Will you have like basically like you're building a team of humans for all with niche roles, but they just happen to be tech? Is that how it'll work? Who knows? And again, it'll be curious to see how that all plays out, but for the moment, it's going to be a case of just improving agents that they're trained on really specific areas, and that they can obviously automate stuff for you. So, but the surge in VC money, I that's my perspective of why it's been such a surge, and I'll be curious to see over time now, like, will there be bigger and bigger rounds, or will AI companies go, I don't want your cash anymore, we're profitable? Like,
is there going to be? I think there's going to be a lot of companies buying companies next.
Yeah,
that's what I think. That's what the next thing is going to be, and then they're going to become new VC capital firms. You know, so that's good. That's good for the ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, again, so how has the market changed for social media marketing since you started working?
Probably I'll understand this question in the sense of we started out as a social media full services company, 2018, 2019. And for anybody listening, we didn't do like SMMA tradition. That would have been traditional. We would have purchased camera equipment, microphones, lighting. We had an office. We had content writers. We had graphic designers. We had a video team. Then we had strategists / ads people. You got to remember, like back then in 2018, 2019, social media was a thing. We started in Ireland, Galway, west of Ireland, you know, small population, but it wouldn't have been like as professional as it is today. But however, we would have done a full service offering.
Yeah.
I suppose we also done websites and, you know, other packages on the side. But I think it changed so much because the audience has changed who uses social media. Yeah. When we started, I feel like a lot more older people would have consumed social media. Facebook would have been a top heavy platform. Instagram was to follow. There was no TikTok. We would have never really engaged on Twitter. No. YouTube was like a really interesting platform. I think a lot of people were on YouTube, but it was for all younger people. Yeah. YouTube was. And whereas now I think like it's totally changed. You are, in my opinion, racing for attention span every day of the week. It's how do I get my product, service, or offering across in the shortest possible time frame, but in a way that the person on the other end really understands it and resonates with it. It like there's just so much levels to social media marketing now. And as you could probably speak more on this because you were running the social media for our customers back when we started. But from me, like a person that probably understands a lot of good things about it, I don't understand the depth to it, but I do understand that I think the audience ultimately really has changed and the way we look at it. And the massive challenge I see is actually finding people that get the social media game, that have that this will go viral mentality, strategy, science, creativity. I think looks matters so much. Presentation, the way you say things, video seems to be awful powerful. Like, it's such a massive evolution. And now the other thing that people are doing is they're paying for it.
Yeah.
Back when we started, it wasn't like a very well paid activity to be a social media manager or to be a content creator. Now people can make a lot of money both doing it, selling it, outsourcing it. So it's a massive segment of opportunity. But that's what I see from my eye on this.
Yeah, so back in 2018, 2019 when we started, there was much less people selling the service social media marketing, even though at the time, because you would have known all the players, we thought it was swamped, but it really wasn't.
5 or 10 of us that were really doing the game of social media marketing, that wasn't just doing like video creation.
Yeah, no, we were doing full service. Our 3 pillars were content creation, all kind of content creation, on-site and off-site, social media marketing, strategy, ads, and then websites. And that was the 3 pillars we ran with when we started. What the landscape, a lot of companies, even on the SME side, didn't actually have budget at the time to even consider that being a real expense to actually have. I know us just fighting tooth and nail to try and justify even a couple €100 a month. And again, there's an element of our skill and our ability to sell, and then also people, the landscape of business. We were selling to SMEs, like pretty small businesses. So trying to drag any money out of them, we went for the hardest people to sell to because they had no money, and we're asking for more money on this moonshot idea that okay, they could possibly get more revenue that they can. And we didn't even understand the concept of ROI. We were all about brand awareness. There was so much deficiency there. I suppose when we were doing ads back then, the cost for doing ads was way cheaper back than it was now. It's much more competitive. Brands now today, back then you could run an ad and that looks like an ad and get conversions, and people would pay money. I've ran so many ads that did really well money wise, huge ROI on what you're spending, but they were just ads. Whereas now brands need to create content that looks like creators to actually get people to engage. You need to fall in love with it.
There's dimensions to it now.
It's huge. And and there's also a bit of a science. There's a couple guys I know that have really broken it down to a bit of a science. But the big one, you just hear the big creators, the Mr. Beasts of the world, that talk huge in depth about how they create content, is that a lot of it just comes down to just the first 3 seconds. It's that hook at the start. And even with Magnate now, and when we're gonna start doing ads and stuff, I'm looking hugely in depth at okay, the body is less important, but it's what is the initial frame? What's the music? What's the sound? What's the visual? What does that look like? Because in an age where you're fighting for attention so hard, there's so much content online, brands and people all have to fight for it. So it's huge. And and again, trying to hook someone's attention and stop them is so goddamn difficult. So I think the big one is, one, there's way less players in the market. Secondly, content, very simplistic content. It was much easier to convert back then versus now. And the third one then as well, the big one I see someone not being in that game anymore that is there now, is there's so many guys selling courses on how to build a company in this space.
God, yeah.
And there's guys making millions
of dollars
off selling dream about how to build an SMMA. And their whole model is try and offshoot the work to people in basically third world countries, pay them nothing, sell to clients in the Western world, and then just arbitrage. You get the difference of it, and basically try and put up packages to businesses. The one thing one of the many things I don't like about it is that you're selling the dream to a business, and then you're like, how can I do the least amount of work?
100%.
Because the big one we did, and again, for better or for worse, we always really cared. We really tried our best.
We really cared. We invested in everything to make it possible. We didn't really care about margins ourselves. We cared about success. There was quality of service. There was a team. We hired. We constantly innovated. The big thing that you see now is the reason I think agency names and brands have been really, it's a really bad thing now to be an agency, because you're now just one of them, right? And when we started, it was like a really good thing to be an agency and to offer service, and it was really taken positively if you offered the right service at the right time at the right price, right? Whereas now I think it's like, oh, like an agency, everyone complains about the cost of them. They're non-transparent. They're not skilled, not skilled enough, I suppose. But this is why their churn is super high.
Yeah.
And this is why they are constantly, like, if you see an agency, in my opinion, advertising for new business or having lead gen funnels for themselves, it means that they are losing customers on one side heavier than they're gaining.
Yeah.
And like, it's not to knock the activity of advertising as a service agency, but I do think that from even being involved in partnerships with some of the largest agencies across the space, I can so see they don't run any Google ads. They don't, they scream and shout where we have content funnels and this is how we're doing things. They don't create personal videos of themselves, branding themselves. They create videos and content and do marketing posts and do the traditional marketing elements that is important for their clients to resonate with and potentially share across their clients' dimensions and networks. So this is why also, in one sense, like with Grafton Digital, I don't have 100 ads running, or like I probably have a Google Ads account set up like from back in the day, but it's that we don't have any of that, right? Yeah. Not to say that I don't want to explore it or try it, but I never had envisaged to really look after it because we were always so busy getting more customers, referrals and word of mouth, and that was and then also going out and fighting for contracts like in the procurement space and going to other countries trying to connect, network, going to these places. That's how we've gained our momentum as a business. Yeah,
it was all network.
It was all network. Whereas now, like, people can take $50 a month and go and probably create $500-600 a month income for themselves, which is amazing on paper, but your client then like F's off in 3 months. Yeah. So like that churn I just think is annoying. And you have VAs, you have loads of different people, these systems, and I've seen like massive workflow automations from entrepreneurs who are in this SMMA space, but nobody sticks with them longer than 2-3 months.
Yeah.
And like I think that's ruining the reputation in the space.
Do you remember when we started Grafton, there was a player in the Galway space that ruined the reputation? Do you remember,
yes.
Do you remember we had such uphill battle because we already had a bad stink of agency? Yes. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll never forget that.
He'd done such bad business in Galway that when we came in, they were like, oh, you're from the same village as them, and you're in the same business.
And to be fair to the guy, he was there before anyone else doing this service. Yeah. Influencer marketing, content creation, web development, and he was charging people out through the sky, treating employees like terribly, and then just had terrible reputation in the space. And when we showed up, we started taking some of the customers that he had and other people had, and people started talking about us. So like, who are these guys coming in? And remember, like he was actually kind of standoffish with you, especially, kind of like, well done, you're, welcome to this, welcome to my space.
Yeah, I remember talking to some of his clients or ex-clients and them being like, you're from the same area, you're in the same business.
Are you related to him?
He shafted me. Why will you not shaft me on that? Yeah. It was actually such an initial uphill battle. I remember anyways, but just, it is interesting, especially because there's such little people in the space
Absolutely. Now. And that's the thing that people don't realize in this space is the world is a tiny, tiny place, and you will be recognized in different circles, and, like life just has a weird way of, teaching you a lesson, or, me... giving you a bit of a middle finger in one way. Yeah. But I think that that's all those things have significantly changed.
Yeah, it's a very different landscape.
I think it's a brilliant space to be in if you're doing it correctly. Yeah. If you have the right intentions, if you are extremely skilled at offering one service, like video production, like graphic design, like content strategy. I think to offer all of it now is very difficult because I think everyone that's really good in the space have their own businesses. Yeah. So I think that's a real challenge in the industry is to find this. But I'm totally okay with contractors. I'm totally okay with bringing on multiple different experts because that's what I'm selling on the other side to my customers as well. So why wouldn't I be? But I think if I was to start a social media marketing company today, I would probably do it through partnerships.
Yeah.
I would partner with the top 5 companies, and I would just leverage my skill of sales.
Yeah.
And just go after business. But I would, get these people, this group of experts, video, visuals, productions, strategists, ads people, email marketing, so overlooked at the moment, cold outreach, automations, everything. I would get the best of people in the space, package it together as a monthly bundle or a performance bundle, and I would actually just sell it. I wouldn't actually build the company necessarily, because I think hiring these people is super difficult. And the constant fight for talent is a tough game, and you don't want to be always looking over your shoulder of this person's just taking my people.
Yeah, 100%. We have a couple minutes left. Do you want to do a bit of a fire round where we keep them a little more succinct, a little faster, and we get to a couple more questions?
Absolutely. So one coming up here is, how did you get the first enterprise clients in the door? To define enterprise, I think is different for everybody.
Yeah.
So for Grafton Digital, like our core services were digital transformation, software development, web development, and kind of hosting, infrastructure building, servers, everything like that, just for anybody listening that doesn't know what our enterprise customer might look like. With websites, it was actually, I think, getting some of the bigger contracts initially were all about having that portfolio of smaller business that is in the same industry of some sort, or there was some sort of connection or referral leverage there. Tenders, some smaller tenders locally, nationally. That was like our first way to build it up towards getting like a government agency or something similar to that. But it was all very much, you had to apply to get there, but you were invited in to apply, or you were just recognized because you worked with other people in the space. The other part is like knocked on a LinkedIn doors, getting conversations in the door. That was kind of the way I remember getting some of the bigger ones in. It was all through just going to people and ask for introductions or do good jobs and really see what enterprise companies really want. And one thing that gets their attention is money. Right, is like like I remember the first big introduction I got. I went to a friend of mine and said, there is this opportunity for anybody in the e-commerce business. They can get a really good grant from the government where we could really transform what they're doing. And he made an introduction, and then that grew to be an enterprise deal. So for me, it was knocking on doors and getting my foot in the door and proposing for business. But like I didn't find a hack to do it. But I think, again, going back to, I think I said it in one of the episodes before, is you got to go where you think your customers hang out. It's awful big wind. That's where I think you got to go. So like my customers hung out on eTenders, which is an Irish procurement website for government contract, not-for-profits type websites. We had even Bark.com, which was a lead generation agency. And some of the times an enterprise company put up a thing and said, hey guys, we've got 10 grand, 20 grand of budget. Can somebody come and apply? And of course we were there to apply. I think it was us and Propeller Digital were the two companies. I think Propeller Digital put you onto Bark, didn't he? Paddy and the guys, good guys there. Bark got us a lot of great business. Now it's overcrowded, and now it's but remember, there was times like Bark kept on giving. It was like, we put in €50 and you got like 10 grand back. And it was like the best ROI.
I forgot about that. That was so good.
Remember that we were just constantly calling, like a lead would come up and we would just be honest. So like we, that's kind of luck in a way, but we were in the game long enough to experience it. And they're early enough to get the most out of it.
It was actually Rory from Propeller that went.
Rory, was it? Yeah,
it was Rory that was talking to, and he was like, "We have this amazing," because they're just like shooting the shit, and he was like, "We have this amazing platform called Bark.com." I'm like, "What's this thing?" But again,
Bark.com single-handedly got us through cash flow difficulties many times.
But I think your superpower is definitely networking. You're very good service based.
Networking,
But you're very good. But when you start building relationships with someone, you are also, whatever you promise them, you always then go on back up, and hence why then your referral network is so strong. Hence why you never had to go down the marketing routes, because your network and what you're able to do with that. But yeah, no, 100%. But again, I think also the big one I'll say is like before we got our first ever like 6-figure deal was like years and years and years. It was like 5 years.
5 years.
4 or 5 years to get our first like 6-figure deal. Like, and then then obviously then you're landing with more frequently, but it's like I think a lot of people get into business and go, I'm not going to deal with small use cases. I'm just going to go straight for the big dogs. Most people can't do that. Most people don't have the skill to do it. Most people don't have the business acumen and reputation to do so. You have to go earn your value in the market, learn your lesson. It's also better to learn it with smaller businesses than it is bigger businesses, because, you know, if you're looking, let's say you want to sell to Fortune 500, or the biggest companies in the US, there's only 500 of them. And if you start blowing your vision, word spreads quickly, even in those circles. So again, it's really good to earn your stripes quietly, make your mistakes, you know, get your wins, get your losses, and then work up, because people are so much about how can I do that tomorrow, and it's like, you actually don't have the skill to do that.
Yeah, but also you don't have the time to win big business. I think that's one of the biggest things.
Lead time,
is lead time. You like a bigger deal takes 3-4 months
plus,
just to even understand what the deal is.
Yeah.
Then you have 2-3 months of justification. Legals. When you hear entrepreneurs talk about legals, for years I never got what that meant.
Yeah.
Now I get that. It's small, minor contract execution, milestones, it's budgets, it's what if situation. It's not a handshake deal where we're like, here's a budget, can you just do this, and let's figure it out as we go. These enterprise companies, they're spending 6-7 figures into your business. They will want to know every little possible opportunity of going right or wrong, and to make sure that you're the right person. That is the process of procurement, is to make sure you're the right company, right person with the right background, and you can actually sustain this. The other part is a lot of people cannot get enterprise business because the risk of them giving you the business. Imagine you're doing 100,000 euros and you're applying for a 1 million euro contract. The risk for that enterprise company to give you £1 million and you've only done 100k worth of business is enormous. They're going to be like, we can't do this because we're your biggest customer. If you go out of business, we have a massive shortfall. Doesn't matter how good you think you are, or how good you know our business, or anything like that, or you could be the best creative in the world. If you're not big enough to last long enough, they will not entertain you. And it's like only the last 18 months I've had a momentum towards dealing with enterprise business and bigger, higher ticket deals, where it's like, you have to propose, you have to wait, you have to be in the sauna. And I was getting so agitated because I was like, this is so slow. What am I doing wrong? I wasn't. I was just like so used to getting quicker wins with private companies that didn't have a massive procurement team. And I genuinely think that it's actually much better to understand how to serve a smaller business, service them, look after them, and organically grow that. Because if you go straight for the big fish, I think you might just choke on getting it, because it's just you are unable to do it. You are not even able to understand the scale, the departments, the people, the stakeholders, the structures, the decision flow, right? Because if you're used to dealing with a direct business owner who makes a decision there and then, imagine when I have 28 people in the room and they all have decision power. I need to make 28 friends really, really quickly and understand what everybody needs at the table, and have coffees, dinners, everything with everybody in that room in order to make sure my presentation, my company is like what they want to and who they want to work with. So I think, how did you get the first enterprise clients in the door? Worked really hard, long enough, built up a good resume, partnered with businesses to get a taste of working with enterprise, continuously upskilled, but networked our arses off. That's in short. But it is really difficult. Highly recommend people to build themselves up to that level. Bigger clients indeed pay better, but here's the thing, they also expect so much more. So you if you have not scaled your back end, you've not done all that stuff because you spent all your hard-earned cash on just having, your lifestyle really, really blown up, and you have no team and you have no structure, well, good luck to you, because now you have no cash to get that deal.
Yeah.
So this is why, and at the time, I don't think it was consciously done, but when we reinvested all our money into the business to build teams, build structure, build brands, and to really focus on the business being a business to function without us, right, and be able to do things without us, that's why we were able to then, later down its lifespan, win deals that are bigger.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. We're actually running for about 40 minutes there. We might keep a couple of these questions.
Do we want to grow? Because, these are quick fire ones, right?
Okay.
There's one deeper one there. Okay. What percentage of your income / distributions do you save? I don't have any crazy rule or framework about how I save my money, how I spend my money. My big thing is I double down on myself in terms of where I invest. So I always try to invest in what I'm involved in, who I'm involved in, rather than invest in things I cannot control or cannot contribute to, such as funds, such as crypto, such as all those different things. But I don't have a thing of I save 20% of my money and spend 40% of money. I don't have that. I'd be very much on put my money where the most it can have the most change, have most effect. But I do whenever I travel, I will always spend on convenience, experiences. I do not have my limit is whatever is in my bank, in that sense of if I'm there, I'm there. So I will always try to enjoy myself and not deprive myself from anything like that. But I don't have this magic strategy. I don't know if you have this.
No, currently it's my money for living, and then a lot of it's I pumped a lot of my personal cash into Magnet as well.
You're pumping it back again. It's betting on yourself again.
No, 100%.
And I think if the question was to be phrased also in a way of how do we decide where we strategically invest?
Yeah.
It's trying Sky Park. When Sky Park came to the table and we looked at it, it was, what could this potentially make, right? What was the effort required, right? We undershot both.
Yeah.
But it was okay, fine. It was does this align with the business we're doing? Not necessarily. However, it does, because we are in digital transformation. Yeah. We're going to do digital transformation on a car park. Yep. And we're going to enable digital access without having the need for human interaction or cash payments or anything like this, and to create a more efficient and better experience. That's why the investment of, let's say, our distributions, our profits out of the business went towards now going into this. My investment strategy with Grafton and everything it does is, as long as the principle of service digital is applicable, I will consider the opportunity and I will capitalize on the opportunity if it presents itself clean enough, and it makes sense for me to take that on. So as of recent, I'm looking at companies to acquire in the space I'm looking to grow in, because the reason, and I think when you can go and acquire a company, is when you want to get more people, more facility, and growth in revenue without requiring you to build that out yourself manually. So you're buying time and experience and then portfolio there. So I haven't completed a strategic buyout yet on that sense, but I'm just now looking at that as a recent, and that's my justification of, let's say, my distribution is the word that's used here. So the profit in the company, percentage of that could potentially go towards that buy, because instead of hiring 10 people for sales and hustle for the next 2 years, I can spend a percentage of that money in towards buying that company, plus probably raise some money, do all that stuff, and then go on to building that out. So that's my short answer on that.
Cool.
How do you invest personally? Personally, how do I invest? I'll look at this question of if in company or people, right? It's I need to get extremely excited about the business or opportunity. It needs to be a big enough opportunity for me to see really strong validity in and really strong excitement. But I really look at the person. how they approach things, what they are like in good times, bad times, and have some good conversations and bad conversations with them really, really fast. The airport test that Shane Curran, founder of Evervault, taught us is brilliant. Can I spend a couple of hours at the airport at this person if I got stranded with them? Can I have a pint with them? How do I stress our relationship really, really quickly? That's how I really check if this person is investable of my time, my effort, or my money.
Yeah. I think if we're talking about like investing in people and bringing people on board for team members, the big one is like, again, and Navy SEALs uses principle is that I'd much rather someone with very high trust and loyalty and all in on giving their best as, let's say, a B player, let's say skill wise or experience wise, than A player is very difficult to deal with, because in a small organization, every person works very closely. One person causing problems can cause problems to the entire team, and if that person doesn't play nice with customers and or other team members, it can throw everyone off and be hugely not good. So with regards actual like personally backing people, a lot of it's off my how they conduct themselves.
Good feeling, right?
Yeah, but like that good feeling is broken down to like it's a couple things, like, do they take accountability, or are they blaming everyone for their everything that's gone wrong in their life? Like I did a job interview recently where a person basically blamed anything that went wrong in their career, they blamed on someone else, and they just subtly wove it in. It was never accountability. And I went, you have taken zero accountability for anything that's gone poorly, and you've taken upside of everything that's gone well. I'm like, I'm not going to go anywhere near you. And things like that. It's accountability, it's ambition, it's work ethic, it's how to go above and beyond when push came to shove. There's like a few little things that I would be looking out for, that my gut would go, okay, this person takes accountability, they're ambitious, if push comes to shove, they're willing to double down and work hard. Mm-hmm. And like open mind to learn. Like, that's it.
100%. Are they a coachable mind and an individual? Because to be impressive and skillful is one, but to be coachable is another. We learned that from Gareth. So that's definitely a big one. And then how do you invest personally? If it was people asking about money and stuff, like my thing is, I like real estate, I like property, I like anything I can add value to. That's just my method to investment. But like, I don't actively pursue pensions or funds or crypto myself.
My current money is going into Magna at the moment, but that probably will change over time.
Yeah, you like a bit of real estate as well.
I definitely think over time I would. Again, I'm not. My head's.
You're not there. You're not drawn to that at the moment. How did you go from hustler 100 to 200k per year, I suppose, business, to bigger business, 7 figs plus? I think it's you that has to grow. Utmost you have to grow before your business grows, and that is, I think, the way we scaled Grafton to get to 7 figures was hiring the right people, putting in the right supports, putting in the right flow of decisions, constantly never letting go of the quality of the service that you're providing. It is the biggest failure of companies across the world, is they go too big too fast, and it's their ultimate death, because somebody can come in and absolutely take everything, business, customers, reputation overnight, and much faster than they have built it up, because they've let their eye off the ball. So I think you as a person have to be so ready to put everything constantly back into that business, really focusing on creating it and building, really solid infrastructure there. And also, like, you have to, I think to grow the business, you have to really ensure that you are constantly reminded of the fact of you need to somewhat bet on, difficult times and when times are not great, as much as when times are great or times are going really, really well. Yeah. And that's what I mean is, for example, can you add recurring revenue to your books? Yeah. Can you do different things to really help that growth? Because turnover is one thing, profit is another thing, and direction is a completely other component on there. But I don't think there's a massive secret sauce to formula, other than, again, like going back, I think I said in the first podcast, First 100K is people, friends, family coming and trusting you with spending some money. I think that was our first 100,000. Then after that 100,000, getting towards, let's say 300,000-400,000 was throwing enough shit at the wall, seeing what sticks, and absolutely just putting in mad hours across every department and just selling ourselves and selling the team. Then towards the first million was totally now you have a product, you have an ICP, you have what works, and you are actually not taking your eye off the ball. You are patiently replicating it and growing it, and you are putting everything back in.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, now I have a business here. And actually, I don't have a business that does 9 figures, but the other parts is like I'm involved in a business that is doing 8 figures revenue now, but it's actually just the market's just massive for it to do that amount of money. So it's like going after the right thing is as important as doing the right thing, if that makes sense. So like you're going after with Magnate a market worth, has it $1 trillion market cap?
It's
technically or
roughly about $100 billion.
$100 billion market. You getting 1 or 2% over the next 10, 20 years is massive, right? In terms of numbers. You getting 5-10% is enormous in terms of numbers. Same thing. I'm in a market there with this company. It's 200-300 million euro market. The more we acquire and the more we grow, the numbers are going to reflect that much faster. And what I found is bringing again, it's coming down to people. I feel just constantly repeating it, but that business was able to scale so quickly and so well in the market because it had the right people with the right experience, with the right networks, and the right attitude, I suppose, as well. That combined rocket fueled the growth. So for me, that was like a couple of combinators or just quick reflection.
And again, just wrapping up here, it's like, I think it's actually in the question. The person already knows this. They go, how did you go from hustler 1 to 200K a year to a bigger business?
Very good. Very good.
You go from you're a freelancer, or you and a couple of your boys that are not as good as you or less than you, that you've kind of trained up, that like are just doing things, to investing in people more talented than you in their areas, and then enabling that business to grow its departments based on people. Like, we hired people way more talented in our areas, and then we built around them, and that's what allowed us, like, that was the starting turning point. If we looked at Grafton's history of the turning point from Eric and Dara are doing the things, we're scrappy, we're working really hard, to no, there's a level of experience here, we're raising the standards here, we're investing in salaries for people that are much better, because that's what you build that on top of.
That's a business.
Yeah.
Do you know what, that is 100%. That's 100%. I agree on that. The one thing I want to add to your point is, if you think that running a lifestyle business or a freelance business is a business, that is a worse illusion than a business thinking it's going to make it. Because when you're sick, when you don't want to really take time out, or when certain things are happening in life or you run out of that founder's energy, your business will die. It will rot. Whereas if you have a business that has everything and it's growing and it has the right people, right infrastructure, it will continue to pay, as long as it's not disrupted, I suppose. But you have to really mentally let go of the fact of you and have to create this thing of business. Remember, like, we would always give up things personally, family time, health, let go of certain things like gym, and really just like focus on the business, because we treated it as an individual entity, raised it as a child nearly, rather than it's us, me, Eric and Dara are Grafton. And of course that was the start. It was Eric, Dara, Jack that were Grafton. Then it was Eric and Dara, then it was Grafton, and just the evolution kind of grew. Follow-up question from that, and what was that change like personally? I think personally it gotten a lot more fun in a lot of senses. You do really respect the journey you've come on. Like, if you, I think, to create a business that is generating 7 figures in value, I think that's amazing. Even 6 figures in value, I think that's amazing. But for me personally, it was very much the changing personally was myself as a young man, on how I treat certain situations, how I mature in a positive way while not letting go of, being a young person and not losing my identity or not trying to get too ahead of myself in that respect. I have, I've kind of always had everything, that I really, really wanted. I got a chance to try a couple of things, but I didn't go and lose my mind during the process in that respect. So I was I have not experienced massive change personally beside myself. Of I have matured enough and grown enough in that respect. And one of my favorite things is I get to work with people I like to work with.
Yeah.
That is the best thing of having a bigger business, is you do actually get a say in direction. You're not starving, so you get a say in direction, or you actually get to deal with people or hang out with people you really enjoy, doing business with.
Yeah.
I love our Sky Park conversations.
Yeah. I love the phrase, the more you work on the business, the more the business works on you. I really like. I definitely like the men that this journey has kind of carved us into and continues to carve us into, and it'll only continue over time. But I really think that it is really, we've gone from boys to men during this process, and I think
really fast, didn't we?
Yeah, it forced us to do it faster. But I also think that it's forced us to do it. But I really love that.
It's funny. I can't get that message across to a lot of people.
Yeah, you have to experience it.
You have to experience it, because sometimes I definitely feel when I'm talking to people about from the angle of gone through the wars and going through the wars, continuously staying in battle, but a lot of people are just kind of listening, saying, I think from the just from looking at their face, they just so don't get it.
Yeah,
they just can't place themselves into even a second to that situation.
Yeah.
And I'm I actually need you to go and figure it out. It's the worst thing, is to try and defend or protect you from figuring it out, let you figure it out and see, and then come back to me in 10 years time and shake my hand and say you were right, because many times I've done that to my mentors and be you guys were right.
No, totally. There's a couple of times where you're it doesn't. You're not the right place. You don't get it, and you don't hear the lesson, and that's okay. And the real show of wisdom is that you're able, that people and again, I think we've been fortunate to sometimes do this, not every time, is sometimes take the lesson from someone instead of having to experience it ourselves, because it's a lot more painful that way.
It's a lot more painful. Last question, and of this, and we've answered quite a bit then. As a younger man in business, I always found I wasn't taken seriously a lot of the time, and the question kind of cut out, but probably what has been your experience, or how did you come across being a younger guy in business? You were 17 when we started. I was 18. I was 18, turning 19. How did we overcome it, and how did we experience it?
Well, one, I had no facial hair, so we did look like boys. Was one challenge. I think over time there's a certain confidence and certain authority you speak to, and you sound when you have experience. When you've I've delivered results, I've done this before. Because when you first come in and you're young, you don't speak with any authority, you've no experience, you've no case studies, and more importantly, you've no confidence in what you're saying. You're very hesitant, you accept anything, you're scrappy, you're nervous. Whereas when you walk in now, you're I know we can deliver, I know we can do this, and people can feel that. So I think the big one is trying to get as many reps in as possible, having your case studies, do free work at the start if you know demand, because when you get to that person, whether if you're, let's say, talk about service, if you're an ads company, a website builder, whatever it is, when you get to someone and it's your 50th website, your 30th website, your 20th time running ads on Facebook for a dentist or a vet or whatever it is, you go, I know what works, I've done this before, I know I'm young, but I understand the landscape. This is not my first rodeo, I might look young. Whereas a lot of them come in and go, I can do this and everything for you, and we're so great, and we'll transform your entire business. So that's naive, and you can smell it.
And the first question people will ask you is, have you done this before?
Yeah. And you go,
I've kind of done it.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
thanks.
Yeah,
I don't want someone, I'm not paying somebody, well then I'll pay you a kind of wage.
Yeah.
Right. So and these are extremely expensive mistakes. I still remember myself and yourself walked into a hotel in Oranmore, and we walked in to present a social media package that we got asked to prepare for them. Right. Yeah. We put in a ton of work. probably our first nice proposal. We had social media customers already, like a handful, I think 5 or 10, right? And we've done actually really good quality work for them. And we walked in the door, and the operation manager comes in, and we're having, you know, a cup of tea with them. And the person outrightly, after we present, like just laughingly goes, "Do you guys do this in your spare times? Are you guys like some TY students?"
For fun, yeah.
And Amy and you were so shaken and distraught by that statement. I think we probably went with our, you know, kind of hats in our mouths, like, and just like walked out the door, and we were extremely sad. However, we kind of had a couple of hours of sadness, and we got back to work.
Kept going,
and we kept going,
and
that just stuck with me since that.
Me too.
If like that person sat down and absolutely disrespected everything we've done for them, and anyways, we were so many times disrespected, not taken seriously. It feels terrible. What changed my perspective is when Gareth Flower said, "Guys, instead of hiding from your youth, embrace your youth." Double down of you guys being young and being in the generation. Because a real business person will recognize the fact of you are talented, you're one of a kind, and you have really good characters, and your energy is really, really good. And if a business owner does not value your energy, they're not the business owner that you want to work with. And I've cherished that statement at my heart whenever I even today, like, so I'm in rooms I shouldn't be, you know, I'm 24. I shouldn't be in rooms with billionaires or with multiple stakeholders of a company doing massive amounts of cash, turnover, valuations, all this. It's like sometimes you have to like pinch yourself of like, wow, where did I get to? And like they rely on me for, you know, advice in the digital landscape and scaling a company because they understand that I have so much more energy. I've gone and done a self-funded bootstrapping business. We've kind of figured it out, and they value it. It's like those veterans at the table value our work and our ethic and 100%. Our characters that we've built.
That's just time, though.
Exactly. And at the time, like, you know, totally felt terrible. Totally is not great, and I can so see it's still going to happen until, you know, you're 60 and then you're giving the other person advice on the table. But I know for a fact, I'll take that and I'll be like, I will be giving young people opportunity to prove themselves, working for our businesses, doing stuff for our businesses. I'll always do that, just as a middle finger to the people that disrespected me when I was young doing that. So I'm like, I will 100% invest in young talent because I think they are going to be the next generation, and they will then rear the next generation. If someone doesn't start, give them that opportunity back, you know, then who's going to start doing it? So, cool. That's a lot of questions. Cool. Dara.
Good stuff. That was an hour.
Very good.
So, well, thank you very much for listening to episode 25 of Built From Scratch. Hope you enjoyed this format. If you have any more questions you want to submit in, send them in to us. Our email is builtfromscratchpod@gmail.com, or message us on our socials. We're live every week, so I hope you enjoyed the pod. If you did, give it a like, share it, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.